SOS. Travis Wayne Goodsell. Over the long Thanksgiving weekend, the Wall Street Journal came out making Alyssa Grenfell more famous than she already is. The church has devoted their whole entire latter days to trying to shut me up and destroy me, and thus fell for my trap as Alyssa Grenfell has just crushed the church. She is destroying this church because of her presence on social media. Her YouTube channel, yeah, she gets millions of views regularly, hundreds of thousands. But on TikTok, that's where she is queen. She is the queen bee, destroying this church. And this comes in the wake of the steaming meanies or menaces to society or whatever they called themselves, who did years of TikTok videos at BYU, interviewing all of the little kids going to BYU and had no clue that the church was racist since 1978. So yeah, the Wall Street Journal. Exmo, come on Alyssa, you're a FOMO. You were not excommunicated. D. Todd Christofferson dropped the ball and didn't contact your authorities to reactivate you. The Strengthening Church Members Committee. You're a FOMO like me. Exmos are ones who are excommunicated. This Wall Street Journal posting comes in the wake of last year's Hollywood entertainment destruction of the church. Wave after wave after wave of destructions. And yet the church the whole time, Travis! Shut him up! Shut him up! Travis! No! And so this year, as we enter into season 3 of The Secret Combination Lives of Mormon Tradwives, which was everywhere, this has massive hype all over to promote season 3. Even Utah local news did. Interviewing them. Except for that apostate. But the others. And so, yeah, this is another crushing wave. A tsunami destroying the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And yet, despite this, as ex-foe nevermos around the whole world are cheering, knowing that a TKO is coming any day soon now. In the coming day. In the coming day. Here I am the whole time. And yesterday, I did a special little video of 3.5 hours about the Kirtland Apostasy. And I already knew the answers. Those of you who have been following me you know that when I went over Kirtland and what happened there and why Mormons left, you go, wow, yeah, Travis knew. And yet here he is finding the church history documents to confirm what he had already knew. And so, yes, I'm deeply concerned because we are repeating history because nobody knew it. The church has lied, not just to its own membership, but the entire world, obviously. I should have reversed that. Not just the entire world, but to its own members. They are incapable of telling us the truth about our origins. As a result, you got the Deseret News, Bev, who did a follow-up to apologize to the Wall Street Journal. And I did that, I don't know how many hours. Let's check. I'll pause for station identification. Let's check. All right, so part 1 was an hour and 42 minutes. So an hour and 42 minutes, and then 2 hours and 29 minutes. Hour, 42 minutes, and then 2 hours, 30 minutes. And so 4 hours and 12 minutes for just a 15-minute talk of Oaks. My commentary on the 15 minutes of Oaks was 4 hours and 12 minutes. They're bleeping hell. And so Bev did not listen to that talk, or forgot. She's a reporter for the Deseret News. She's supposed to do her research. She was supposed to consult my brother, who was not supposed to let this happen. My brother Todd failed the church yet again. Mr. Valedictorian with fake doctor degree. Failed the church again. This is his field. This is what he does. He's online saying, I am a researcher for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, all things Mormon culture. This is Mormon culture. You failed, Todd. Bleep you, Judas. I'm telling you, a BYU degree is worthless. How many times do I have to prove it to you? Get psychology the hell out of Utah. Dear God. And so, yeah, 15 million Mormons have left the church. And they are destroying this church online. And Beverly, for the Deseret News, is apologizing for the few Mormons left. No longer claiming the ad populum argument. We're the fastest growing religion, therefore we're true. Book of Mormon? You forgot to read the Book of Mormon. She's saying that Mormons need to gather together as tiki torches bound to Jesus to keep the light going. as a social network. She didn't use those words, but that's what she meant by a social community of Mormonism. Those who leave the church, leave the community, and they're lonely. They have no purpose in life. They have no belonging. Sure, they have friends. But they lost the Mormon community of togetherness. And I covered that in Oak's 4-hour, 12-minute video. That was number 1, I think, right? Where Oak said of the different types of Mormons who, for their reason for serving in the church. And he went over those Mormons who only serve if there are those who they can associate with. Church is only about a society, a club. And so when their bestie leaves or is split into another ward, they lose activity. Because their whole membership is based upon social networking, having friends in the church. And so when that goes away, oh no, what do? I'm no longer a Mormon. No duh. And so there was Bev defending the church with what Oak said not to do. And she's a reporter. She was supposed to investigate. She is supposed to have studied all of the previous words of Dallin Harris Oaks, who's the new president of the church. She is now the Deseret News reporter. And she failed. She failed. So, good for Alyssa. However, I've been trying to warn you ex-foes who think I'm not worth your time. That you are popular, and therefore you're true. Alyssa. You know, yeah, she's just barely prettier than I am. Just barely. But, and sure, she's more professional. But she's not more entertaining. So yeah, I've watched many of her shows to see what she's all about. And she is great when she talks about her own experiences growing up Mormon. Because she experienced it. I can relate. I grew up Mormon. In a different time period. In a different dimension. The different multiverse. Because this ain't the Mormonism I grew up in anymore. Nelson destroyed it. And I warned you as he destroyed it conference after conference, and nobody listened, nobody believed. I'm still a high priest, Travis. I'm still visiting my families. You're not listening. You're not paying attention. You missed it. And you now look stupid. And that's how Alyssas of the world of Mormonism destroy this church. Because the rest of the world doesn't care about how true or false the Book of Mormon is. to get specific into the details. That was the old school apostates. The Tanners came out finding original source documents and said, this isn't what we're currently using in the church, and this isn't the way it was. But the Tanners ruined it by imposing their annotation of their new Christianity that they created with the Utah Lighthouse Ministry. So when Jeremy Reynolds came out with his CES letter, all he did was plagiarize their work. It's not his. But you get John DeLynn, who promotes him, and then he gets excommunicated because the Strengthening Church Members Committee were watching. And then he's shocked. Oh no! And then little Nemo across the pond and the Brits likewise gets interviewed by John DeLynn, and then he gets excommunicated. Catching on to the pattern yet, people? John DeLynn is a plant for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He's Judas. I tried to warn Exmo Lex. And it's FOMO Lex, by the way, dear. So yeah, she's fallen. She used to be the bright star for everybody to go to. And she's fallen. Alyssa has dominated, crushing everybody. But that's her weakness. And I tried to let her know. She doesn't listen. She thinks she knows better because she's popular. That is one of the tendencies, and we all know this as priesthood holders in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as it was ingrained into us Sunday after Sunday after priesthood meeting after priesthood meeting. Amen to the authority. Why? We all know why. As soon as you get a little authority, as you suppose, you begin to exercise unrighteous dominion. And so it's not just authority, but authority can also be perceived through wealth or through popularity, not just by the laying on of hands. And so that's where Alyssa fell. But she's at the top of her game, so she doesn't see it. When she talks about her experiences, she's crushing it. Because that is what happened. She is not lying to anybody. But then she does videos about church history and about scriptures. And there she ain't got game. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has lied. And so everything we think we know about church history and scriptures is wrong. We have got to reboot the research. Just because September 6th got shut down and Oaks came out and said, we've got the Strengthening Church Members Committee that was on the case to activate them with disfellowshipment and excommunication and termination of their employment. We're activating them. Uh-huh. Yeah, the Nazis did that too. Yeah, see how that went? Tiki torches. And so nobody wants to hear the rest of this video. Bye, thanks for coming. This is what the church is obsessed with, and shutting me up. The first part, it happened. There's nothing we can do about it. Todd failed. He should have fired him when he failed to destroy Travis on his birthday in 2023. You Judas. You knew the church threatened you to activate you to destroy me. And yet, you Judas. Bad enough that you followed the example of mommy and daddy back in 2008, who were Judas to me. So, for those of you who are still listening, let's do a recap of what I discovered with the Kirtland apostasy. That I was right the whole time. Joseph Smith starts his church on the 6th of April, 1830. We all know this. And so it starts off with elders who are missionaries going around talking about the Book of Mormon. They didn't have our current discussions with investigators. No plan of Heavenly Father, no law of chastity, word of wisdom, tithing, none of that. Just the Book of Mormon. Here's the Book of Mormon. Read it. And if you want to join, give us a call. On the telephone. We're not pulling an anachronism whatsoever. They had telephones. It was the old landlines. Not our current cell phones. See, we're not naive. We would never impose cell phones back in those days. We're not stupid. So 2 years later, in April 1832. Did I do my math right? Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball finally agree to join because of what the Indiana Four told them. Who are these Indiana Four? And so we're not going to go over why the full thing again for you. Simply put, they're joining to destroy Joseph Smith and his church. They are the enemy. Done the videos, made you pretty pictures, repeated those pretty pictures, hoping you'd catch on. And if you're brand new and you're still listening, don't think you know better. It's because you haven't heard it. It's because the church didn't want you to know it. I do the research. And so, they go and they convert all of those who were of the Scottish Rites Illuminati that were exposed with the disappearance of William Morgan from Joseph Smith Sr.'s Masonic Lodge as the Master Mason in Canandaigua, New York, Ontario, number 23, 9/11, 1826. Yeah, Joseph Smith Sr. That's why we have the Book of Mormon. Because that's the secret plot to coup America 200 years later. That's how vital the Book of Mormon is. And Heber C. Kimball and Brigham Young had learned that this is the person responsible And so Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball go and convert all of those who stayed in Western New York, who were the ones who wanted revenge. We found them. Join us. We've got a plan. So they then became missionaries. And they went out without the Book of Mormon. They were telling people, yeah, New Christian Church, Church of Jesus Christ. And then after 1834, yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they're establishing churches in the various townships. People think they're Christian, but they don't have a Book of Mormon. They don't know that Joseph Smith is the head of the church, like the Pope. And so they don't believe in the Doctrine and Covenants. They're only believing in the Bible as Christians. The new Christian religion in America. So thus we get to Kirtland. And there's where they find out, wait, what? There's a Book of Mormon? Joseph Smith, a prophet? Doctrine and Covenants? Hell no! And there's apostasy, mingled with an economy collapse. Those original converts by Brigham and Heber sabotaged the Kirtland Safety Society, the bank, taking out loans and not paying them back, living high on the hog, and thus not supplying the storehouse for the poor. And so Joseph, in 1832, condemns these first group of missionaries for lying about the church and about the Book of Mormon in September 1832. That's why the whole church is under condemnation. It's for being turned Christian. And then again, he had to repeat it in December of 1832. Now he's calling them apostates for lying as missionaries, sowing tares, lying. So in 1837, it all hits the fan. This is what they wanted to do with this. Getting everybody converted, believing it's Christian, that when they find out it's not Christian, they apostatize and leave, thus destroying Joseph Smith's church. And yeah, it got ugly. As Joseph Smith's Kirtland Safety Society fails because of the sabotage, the Christians among them, finding out, wait, we're not supposed to be Christian? They form their own Christian Church of Christ, the Old Standard. And there is a war that ensues. And they want to assassinate Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon, who have to flee in January. But the ones who sabotaged the Kirtland Safety Society, they pretend to be loyal. Now, And so when the call came from Brigham Young and Heber to come to Adam on Diamond, which didn't exist, it's Spring Hill still. That was because of the next wave to destroy Joseph Smith. And it was only a month after they got there. They left Kirtland in July. In August, it began again in Missouri. The Mormon War, as everybody else thinks it is. They purposely tampered with the election in Daviess County. Not just because they purposely settled in Spring Hill, because that's where the candidate wanted to develop the land. And so the call out for the Danites, and I think I only read one of the pages. I think it continued on with a whole list of other names on another page, and I didn't do the picture for that page for you. But nonetheless, a whole long list of guys exposing themselves who are the ancestors of popular Mormons today. And they started the fight. They then came out and said, "We are the Danites, the order of the Danites, not the order of Emmanuel, of Joseph Smith's church." Section 107, verses 2 through 4. Why are we repeating frequently the name Jesus if we're supposed to hold it reverent? Jesus, Oaks! What kind of a church is this? Is this a kissing church? What about Prince Humperdinck? Doesn't he die? Doesn't he get thrown in jail? Jesus, Oaks! Jesus! And yep, taking the Lord's name in vain from Oaks or over the weekend. That was yesterday. That was the 2.5 hour one. Wrong name. That's Isaiah. He's the one who prophesied of Emmanuel. He is our source for the name of the Jewish Christ. It was the first creed of Christianity, finally acknowledged 4 months late by the new Pope. That's when Christianity was formulated. Thank you for confirming what Joseph Smith, the Book of Mormon, and I have been telling everybody ever since. Alyssa hasn't. So yes, this is the Danites. Everything they did in 1838 is involved in a forged document of Brigham Young's. Section 115, Section 116, Section 117, Section 118, Section 119, Section 124 and 28 for the baptisms for the dead, and Section 132. All fake news by Brigham Young. None of it is Joseph's. I found the documents, I found the ledgers, I got the receipts. I've done the research. They've lied. and they got other people to spread the lies. Just like they still do to this day. That's why they dip down into the kiddie pool for missions. It's because they don't know Mormonism. And so, just a heads up, Oaks. You know what's next. You know over the weekend now that you're back to work that I've restarted your greatest hits from conference. And I'm doing them in order from the beginning. And guess what's next, Oaks? October 1985. And what's it about, Oaks? I told you I was drooling. I was waiting for this moment for all of my life. Oh, Jesus. I can feel it coming in the air and dying. Oh, Jesus. Jesus, Oaks. What kind of a church is this? The great and abominable church doesn't fall. What do you mean it doesn't fall? We're running test runs, and if we can run test runs for eternity, perpetually, the church will never fall. Yep. By turning everything physically literal, they tell us that it's all to be understood spiritually. And so while those of us of the older Mormonism oh, it's literal history? Oh, yeah, it really happened? It's all physically true? So yes, you got all of these Mormons who are going into the fields of science to show and run tests to find out if the Book of Mormon is actually true. And I go, yeah, wow, they're North and South America. Book of Mormon is true. Oh, sure enough, there's Jerusalem. Oh, the Book of Mormon is Jerusalem. Church is true. The church obviously are the true successors. Nelson and now Oaks is the head of the church. Jesus is in the center of our name. Hello? Travis, hello? Oh my God. So yes, the leadership's tactic of making Mormons stupid diverted me away from the leaders. I just assumed Mormons just aren't studying, they're just being stupid, lazy learners, lax disciples. So I ignored all of y'all. And I go in to linguistics of the ancient Middle East. The way is paved for me to find out, and I do it. I decipher the dead language of Paleo-Hebrew. And all hell breaks loose. You told us that Joseph Smith is a translator of Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. The Book of Mormon, Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. What did you think I was going to do? You aren't giving me any answers. You're not finishing translations. You're not even rendering any translations. You're keeping the worst translation of the Bible ever. Not a single Christian group keeps the King James Version anymore. Nobody's that stupid. Except for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And the reasoning? It's in the Book of Mormon. Plagiarism is proof of the truth. Errors and all, which means the errors are not errors. I lost Kimberly over charity. Liked Kimberly. Dear God, Jesus. Nelson said to repeat the name frequently, and I'm obeying. Hilarious. By turning it all literal history, you miss out on what's actually going on. And so Mormons say it's literal history true. Ex-foes say no, nothing of it is true. And you've got a whole bunch of different beliefs on how it's not true. They're not all united on that. Because you got some people who say Sidney Rigdon's the major author, and you have others that say Joseph Smith used a rock and a hat. That's how varied it is. Nobody knows the truth. And it's sickening to hear people who are of the Exfo Nevermos, who are regurgitating on my videos the lies perpetuated because of the church. This is the trap that they set for Joseph, and they're rebooting it. So yes, they love that Alyssa Grenfell is destroying the church. They just don't want Mormons to know that. That's why they attack me rather than Alyssa. Is because they want this church destroyed. They want the Book of Mormon destroyed and the memory of Joseph destroyed. Right, community of church or of Christ? With a new female president. That's what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints wants to do as well. Do away with the Book of Mormon. Do away with Joseph Smith, and they're getting you guys to war over it, to do it. So, 45 minutes in now. Anybody care to know the truth? So let's do the next purging of my audience. The next wave. Joseph Smith, in the introduction of the Book of Mormon, put the Book of Mormon, an account written by the hand of Mormon, upon plates taken from the plates of Nephi. So yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says, see, it's literal history. Not a single fiction book in all eternity has ever claimed to be true. No, not at all. Harry Potter is real. Frozen is real. I saw her. She has sequels and a TV series. She's real. You can't tell me otherwise. The historical documents. The space aliens told Tim Allen. It's all real. Get out of here quick before one of them kills Guy. You notice how I use movie references? You're not caught on yet? Superman and Star Wars. Jews. They're written in the learning of the Jews, because the Jews are the authors. All of Scripture, Jews. So what do you think? Christian? No. And nonetheless, despite the Pope coming out and confessing, yeah, we're a fraud, we were created 1700 years ago, formulated. Wherefore, it is an abridgment of the record of the people of Nephi, and also of the Lamanites, written to the Lamanites. Oh, Mormons are going to be so upset when they find out who's who. Who are a remnant of the house of Israel. Run, Mormons, run! Quick! Cover your ears! It's gonna get gory! Run, Mormons! Run! And also to the Jew and Gentile. Written by way of commandment and bombshell alert. Also by the spirit of prophecy and of revelation. Not literal history. That all of the stories of the Book of Mormon are all fictional characters being used as prophetic similitudes of future predictions with the revelation calendar dates and clock times. Remember 9/11/1826 in Canandaigua, Ontario Lodge number 23 of Joseph Smith Sr., Master Mason of the Yorkites Lodge, with the Knights Templar as the highest rank. So the coming forth of the Book of Mormon must be understood in Joseph Smith's 1838 visionary accounts, because they're not literal history either. The ex-foes were right on that, but then they botched what it actually is. So when you plug in the Yorkites with Knights Templar lore, now you see the bigger picture. Oh, Egyptian gold plates, you dumbass apologists. Solomon's Temple, New Jerusalem in America, the sword of Laban for the temple treasury, and the Holy Grail bloodline of the Christ of the Jews, with his sign in the heavens For X marks the spot. In hoc signus vinces. In this sign, you will win. And lo and behold, the plates are buried in the ground. Like a rock in a hat. Where X marks the spot in America for the New Jerusalem. The mountain cities of Pharaoh David Moses III with Armageddon 1. And all y'all missed it. So Joseph Smith, after starting the church, needed to reward Sidney Rigdon for his work on the Book of Mormon. And so among the payments was having him work on a full biblical revision of the Bible. And so Joseph Smith eventually, with the help of Daddy, who is the master, the Padawan always has a master. Master only has one Padawan. Junior. Oh, you didn't think that Joseph Smith Jr. was the Jedi? With a Jedi Master? Joseph Smith Sr.? Huh. Well, that's strange. Why not? Oh, right, you thought it was Christian. And Christians, sure enough, tried to turn Star Wars and Superman into Christian. Stop it! Leave them alone! And Mormons can't catch on to this because they're doing it too. Oh yeah, the Swartz is just like the Spirit. The Holy Ghost. See, Darth Vader repented on his deathbed. And there he is as a spirit personage of flesh and bones, as tangible as a spirit. It's so true. Stop it. Revelation chapter 12. He does some changes. These are obviously calendar dates and clock times for the book of Revelation. A woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Even if you didn't know about the constellations, you would at least know about the sun and the moon and stars. To know that this is not talking about on earth. That the woman is Virgo. That this is a specific calendar date and clock time. And here Joseph Smith demonstrates he knows the date. Huh. So those titles aren't just for being titles? They actually have powers and gifts that can be judged? Church, cover your ears. Oaks, cover them up. Strengthening Church Members Committee, you have to listen. That's why the early Mormons rejected Joseph Smith. What do you mean he's a prophet? We're Christian. We don't have prophets. The Methodist preacher of the first vision? Hello? Dear God, Mormons. And so, Joseph Smith is correcting this for Mormons. Don't pay attention to what's the same. Stop it. Pay attention to what is different. That's what he wants you to know. And there appeared a great sign in heavens, conjunction in astronomy, in the likeness of things on the earth. Sign in the heavens, revelation of a calendar date and clock time. Likeness of things on the earth, the prophecy of the prediction of the future with the calendar date and clock time. We do know the day and the hour. Oh crap. A Christian wrote it in Matthew when they made their Bible. And so you have to include she's pregnant. Verse 2. So these extra stars or tumors in the belly are planets. We have 5 visible planets. There are 3 added in Leo on her head. Virgo's head. It's only designated with 9. And so she's pregnant with a 4th planet. We have the internet now. You can go over each planet to study them. There's Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. You can go over those and study them. I'm pretty sure the church hasn't tampered with those yet. Like they've been tampering with church history. The war between Mormons and ex-foes altering online information, not just on social media. I knew that was happening, and yet the Wall Street Journal comes out and confirms it for me. I told you so. I told you so. So what's the 5th planet? Is there a 5th planet? Doesn't seem to be in the original Revelation chapter 12. Oh wait, Joseph Smith moves verse 5 to verse 3. There's the 5th planet. Saturn on his throne. The father of Jupiter. And look, the Book of Mormon, of the tree of life, the iron rod. Jupiter is born. And so Mercury, Venus, and Mars are in Leo. The 23rd of September, 2017. Stellarium.org. You now have a Urim and Thummim. Use it wisely. With great power comes great responsibility. That's the Marvel Universe. Okay, so, since we're here, and there appeared another sign in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. 17th of December, 2017, the 5th dark day of Hanukkah. And so what happened on that day in the likeness of things on the earth? Is somebody's having a heart attack. Oh crap, Travis was right. How are you doing, Holland? Are they going to tell us 2 weeks later again? Or 3 weeks later, after Nelson fell? You got so obsessed with me that you let Alyssa Grenfell get through and become popular worldwide. Oops. And I had told you this years ago, that I was doing this as a diversion to allow other Mormons to become popular. And you still fell for it. Even though I'm the stable one, the iron rod, you still fell for it. Because you were so concerned about me. I did get 40,000 views for that 2017 July video. But you shut me down after that, right? So why are you still obsessed with me? We can't have you breaking out again. Bleep you for what you did and all your Judas behavior. Yeah. Nelson, on Monson's deathbed, did the auto pen of 11-year-old girls getting to be sealed in the temple. No. No, Travis. Yes. Law of chastity change in 2019, you unfaithful, unfit Mormon. Disobedient. I throw it right back at you because you are the beam and motor. So, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. Bye-bye, Monson. Bye-bye. Did cast them to the earth. This Jew was hilarious. 2nd of January, 2018. Bye-bye, Monson. Bye-bye. Yep. So, we take you to verse 7 in the Joseph Smith translation, wrongly called. Joseph Smith helps you understand what I've already known. That Virgo is Joseph Smith's church. So in scriptures, Mary, the mother of Jesus, is not literal history, but she is a sign in the heavens of Virgo. Catholics at least got that right. And yep, wouldn't you know it, the tree of life, the fruit of the tree of life. The tree of life is a representation of God's love. The fruit is the Christ. The iron rod is the word of God that gets you to Christ, that is born of the tree, love of God. Seed, egg, baby, fruit. Guess what Mary is in the Egyptian language? Behold, my Mary son. Screwed that up. Behold, my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. And so, yes, my son of Mary. That's why they use Mary. why Peter is Egyptian. For seer. So yes, scriptures are written as the signs in the heavens. So the condescending Jesus of 1 Nephi chapter 11? Yeah. That's the actual representation here. But 23rd September 2017 is not his birth date, because his death date in Revelation 19 is only 7 years later. It's not his actual birth date, because 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem is 20 years from the death date. 2020 is the Exodus year. So the Jews have a Jubilee year when the Mormons go free in an Exodus. He would be 50 years old in 2020. So 2017 is the start of his ministry. So sure enough, Matthew, going over this, then Jesus starts his ministry. Isaiah, same name. But it's not some other person, because it's Joseph Smith's church. So in Matthew, they have a story form with the sign in the heavens from Isaiah. Isaiah. I give unto you a sign, behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. So Matthew is using the calendar date and clock time given to us by Isaiah, more specifically by the author of Revelation, which we know as John. But then Matthew's author puts in a story narrative, likeness of things on the earth, as prophecy and revelation, just like the Book of Mormon. So sure enough, out of the church comes the Christ of Mormons. Out of Joseph Smith's church for the latter days, starting his ministry to Mormons in Judah, Utah, phonetically the same. The Mormon, who is your Christ, who has the keys of Moses, who is the seer, the prophet, the revelator, and the translator of Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian, so that you would not be deceived by false prophets preaching a false Christ. So, Joseph Smith confirms this, as well as the Book of Mormon, in numerous places. The most obvious helps give you a clue to further information about the antagonist of the latter days, as well as the foolish Mormons, the wise church and the foolish church. There are save two churches, right, Mormons? Christianity and Jews. So section 103, verses 15 through 18, talking about the latter-day redemption of Zion in the millennial New Jerusalem. Therefore I will raise up unto my people a man who shall lead them like as Moses led the children of Israel. The Christ, a Mormon. For Mormons are the children of Israel. Run, Mormons, run! And of the seed of Abraham, and must needs be led out of bondage by power and with the stretched out arm. What power? The keys of the man like Moses and the gifts and powers of seer, revelator, prophet, and translator. But you gotta hearken. Joseph Smith says, or precisely as it stands in our New Testament, verse 40 in the second vision, with who appears to him? Yeah, the sun god at noonday, Emmanuel. And you all argue over whether it's supposed to be Nephi or Moroni. It's Nephi, by the way, that's his new name. 6th of May, 1989. Remember? 50 years later. New name Nephi. So here we go. I, Nephi. There he is. But he's narrating here at the beginning. Because Junior let the 116 pages get stolen by that wicked man related to Oakes. What a coincidence. Even though Oakes was supposed to be assassinated in 2020. Yeah, try telling that to Oakes today. Strengthening Church Members Committee. How does that make you feel, Oakes? You're only the president of the church because you didn't get put into SCOTUS. Mitt Romney didn't become president. Oh my God, knowing the bigger picture. Oh my God. So, having been born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father. This is Junior, but his father. Talking as if he's Junior, because Junior is going to take over the church. He's going to take the brunt of it. Having seen many afflictions in the course of my days, nevertheless having been highly favored of the Lord in all my days, yea, having had a great knowledge, Jewish Kabbalah, York Rites, Freemasonry, of the goodness and the initiatories of the temple of God. Greek, mysterion, initiatories for the temple. Therefore I make a record of my proceedings in my days. Context, he claims he's in Zion now, paradise, land of Nephi. And this is when he begins to work on the records of the history of the people. The small plates as well of the latter days. From the 23rd of September to 8 April 2024. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem in 2020. Solar eclipses. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father, which consists of the learning of the Jews. Travis thinks that there's some mystical knowledge behind this, that it's not literal history Christian. Dumbass. What a bleeping dumbass. And the language of the Egyptians. Everybody forgets. Everybody forgets. So I know that my record, the record which I make is true, and I make it with my own hand, and I make it according to my knowledge. Because Junior Because Senior's the only one that was one-on-one with William Morgan. He had to keep him a secret, too, from everybody. But the rest of the guys knew that William Morgan was one of them. So he's a fellow brother. Is there a terrorist attack on the kids going to school today? What the hell? Dear God. So here we go. For it came to pass, and Expo Nevermos mock that. Oops. In the commencement of the first year of the reign of Zedekiah. So yeah, you'll need to learn who Zedekiah is. He was Nebuchadnezzar's brother, and as the brother, he was cast out of the kingdom to the newly conquered Judah, and replaced the original Judah king, and was put on the throne to give tribute to his brother at the capital, in Ur of Babylon. But he was a naughty boy. Did his own thing, not according to his Lord and Master. Kept running test runs. King over Judah. So it's the United States of America, remember? And Utah is one of the states. The President of the United States of America. What year does this start? 23rd of September 2017. The President of the United States in 2017 from 2016's election. Not Mitt Romney. He lost. He lost. And so it ended up being Trump. Whereas Trump was originally intended to be for the 2020 election, when Mitt Romney finishes his second term. Oops. Got to readjust. 200-year-old plot has to be readjusted. Okay? Donald John Trump is Zedekiah. And I did pretty pictures and nobody appreciated them. My father Lehi, having dwelt in Jerusalem in all his days. Jerusalem was the temple. The palace was on the other hill. Capitol Hill. So the religion headquarters with the only stone temple. Just saying, Jesus, that terrorist, said he was going to tear down the stone temple. And it came, and in that same year there came many prophets. So Lehi is a prophet, prophesying, predicting the future, unto the people that they must repent, or the great city Salt Lake must be destroyed. Wherefore it came to pass that my father Lehi, as he went forth, prayed unto the Lord Jesus, yea, even with all his heart, in behalf of his people. Whose people? Mormons. He's the Christ. Keep going. And he prayed unto the Lord, and it came to pass, as he prayed unto the Lord, there came a pillar of fire and dwelt upon a rock. I saw a pillar of light exactly above the brightness of the sun at noonday. It descended gradually until it fell upon me. Seer! With a dream vision before him, and he saw and heard much, and because of the things which he saw and heard, he did quake and tremble exceedingly. What do you mean I'm going to have to spend the whole latter days alone? And it came to pass that he returned to his own house at Utah. And he cast himself upon his bed, being overcome with the Spirit and the things which he had seen. So he's on his bed, and an angel appears, who's the sun god at noonday, wearing the white shirt. And here it is. And he saw the heaven, and he, being thus overcome with the Spirit, he was carried away in a vision, even that he saw the heavens opened. Revelator, prophet, seer, revelator, translator of Paleo, Hebrew, and Egyptian. Catching on yet? How did y'all miss this? Because you don't need to be the guy for this. The dates, maybe. But to understand that this is not literal history and Christian, that was a no-brainer that you should have caught. And he thought he saw God sitting upon his throne. Oh, Saturn and Ophiuchus. Hey, that's familiar. Where did we hear that from? One descending out of the midst of heaven. His luster was above that of the sun at noonday. From the Egyptian, Emmanuel, the God Amen. And he saw 12 others following him. I guess they were going, even though the constellations go that way, the stars go that way. So technically just 3. But he's using Revelation chapter 12 sign. He's now about to start his ministry, in case you didn't know. See, the Christian Mormons didn't give a damn about the Book of Mormon. They didn't even know there was a Book of Mormon. They thought it was a Christian church. That's what they were converted to. And so, yes, brightness did exceed that of the stars of the firmament. That's the 12 apostles and Jesus. And they came down and went forth upon the face of the earth, and the first came and stood before my Father, and gave unto him a book, and bade him that he should read it. An exact pattern match for the second vision of Joseph Smith, in case you didn't understand why I would reference it. And it came to pass, as he read, he was filled with a spirit that's so spiritually true as literal history. And he read, saying, Woe, woe unto Utah, for I have seen thine abominations. Yea, and many things did my father read concerning Utah. Who's the Book of Mormon for again? Specifically the Danites, those Lamanites of a darkened soul who have lost their way. And so the Jews are those who convert to become the Nephites of the Church of the Lamb, the Jews. And then the Gentiles are Christians. Book of Mormon tells you that also. That Mormons should be scattered and deported around the world to the bleep hole countries where they didn't come from. Jump. Jump. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. 3rd Nephi 7. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Okay, so he tells the Mormons on the 23rd of September 2017, and the Mormons in response that the Mormons did mock him because of the things which he had testified of them, for he truly testified of their wickedness and abominations, and he testified that the things which he had saw and heard, and also the things which he read in the Book of Mormon, manifested plainly of the coming of a Jewish Christ, who would be a Mormon, and also the redemption of the world in Zion. And when the Mormons heard these things, they sent him thumbs downs and hate comments and death threats and fake testimonials, and tried to murder him, tried to torture him, tried to take away his liberty and lock him up, and tried to steal his property, and acting like Danites, enforcing their beliefs of Christianity with violence, even as they did to Joseph Smith of old, whom they had cast out in January 12th, 1838 from Kirtland, and stoned and slain him on the 27th of June, 1844. Yeah, Senior knew what he was getting his son into, and that's heart-wrenching. But because of William Morgan knocking on his door one day, that he knew he was going to have to sacrifice his son to save Mormons and all mankind who would listen. And so, again, a dream. An exodus now, before the destruction. So he takes his family. His wife is the Church of the Lamb, not the church of the foolish devil. These are... And yet, you still have the Laman and Lemuel who go. They are the Danites who leave in July 6th, 1838, with the Church of the Lamb. Yep. Now that I did that video research for you, I see the Book of Mormon at a higher level now. And if you're brand new, you're way down at the bottom going, you're overwhelmed, aren't you? It's just too much for you. I can't take it anymore. And so, yep, departed into the wilderness, and Bruce Armour Conkey put an asterisk there in 600 BC. Wrong. 597 BCE, Bruce R. If you're going to call this literal history, you need to put the right date so that you can get the correct 600 years from the time that Lehi left. 4 CE, 8 April, when the solar eclipse occurred over Russia, who helped put Zedekiah on the throne. And denied it still to this day, as he's locking up prosecutors and FBI agents. In revenge. Okay? And so the story still continues on here. When they get to the top of the Red Sea with the valley and the river, going over to Laman and Lemuel, yeah, it's to Mormons who are Danites. You know, be good, guys. Keep the commandments of Joseph Smith. Follow the Book of Mormon. But because Mormons are stiff-necked, they murmured in many things against Joseph Smith, saying that he's a visionary man. They led him out of the land of Zion to the desert of Deseret, leaving behind all of the gold and the silver and the precious things that they had stolen from the people to perish in Deseret. And sure enough, they did not believe that Utah, the great city, could be destroyed according to the words of Brigham Young or Joseph Smith. Brigham Young was the one who said it. That's why he built the temple out of stone, because it was supposed to last. And so people have understood that that was supposed to mean through the millennium. Nelson knows better now. But that's why he remodeled it to retrofit it to last through the millennium. It was supposed to be done on April conference of 2024. That was supposed to be their dedication ceremony. Oops! The contractors screwed you over, as they do all of Utah. And then that test run year, dear God. Dear God. So yeah, there's a clearer picture now that it has come to pass. So the end of this first story with its interpretation ends in verse 15, and my father dwelt in a tent. That's Joseph Smith Sr.'s coding for I've finished this story, and so then, boom, verse 16 is a new story. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, being exceedingly young, nevertheless being large in stature. Yeah, I am. My dad is 5'11", and he was large in stature for the good cells. As the British Druids, going all the way back, as the sun gods, we were little dwarves. Just like in Lord of the Rings, we were the dwarven creatures, dwarves. Short. You know, Hollywood magic can shrink down John Rice Davies, but no, it's all literal history. And so, me being 6'5", that's unheard of. I mean, we're literally talking large of stature. From 5'4" to 5'6"-ish good cells, to my dad being 5'11", and then me being 6'5". Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. How he knew. And he didn't really know, he just wrote it that way. He was inspired. Spirit of prophecy and revelation. That's how I do my videos, in case you didn't catch on all these years if you hadn't been following. And so, yes, this is a different story now. And so you can't use the same likenesses in the things on earth for each and every single story. You got to reboot it. So you got to figure out who is the protagonist. He's the Mormon Christ. Who's the antagonist? He's the false prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then the church, is it the foolish or the wise church? Church of the devil or the church of the Jews? Christianity or Jews? Joseph Smith gave you all the answers to interpret all scriptures. So you can now take this back into the Bible and the Old Testament, not just the stories of Jesus. Jesus is the Mormon. Plug in these basic formulas for interpretation that Joseph Smith gave you. Don't go beyond the mark. Don't put in Christianity with literal history. Know the literal history. And it might be tougher if you don't know the literal history, and that's why the church didn't tell you the truth about the literal history. That's why they tell you that this is literal history. So that you don't see what they knew and why they joined to destroy the church, to destroy the Book of Mormon, to destroy Joseph Smith. They want this church utterly destroyed. And then in so doing, they fulfill the Book of Mormon warning. Utter destruction of the people. The day that shall come as an oven. The day that shall burn as an oven. And they, that Joseph Smith adds in the second vision, that come shall burn us, the Danites. That is the real story of the Book of Mormon. That is the correct interpretation of the Book of Mormon. So please correct your criticisms of me.